Okay, I replaced the belt and the drum wheels. They look like rollerblade wheels. And I put it all back together, and then the motor's kind of loud. It's louder than normal. I did use compressed air to blow all the dust out of the motor, and it looked pretty good, but I think it's getting close to its end of life. These motors are typically only good for about 10 years. Um, but I use this dryer every single day, multiple times a day. And the motor's just not doing too hot. So you'll notice when I hit the play button, the motor kind of goes, it makes like a really loud kind of buzzing sound for about half a second, but then it's a little bit louder than normal. I mean, that's typically pretty indicative that the motor could be on the verge of failing within weeks or a couple of months, but you'll hear what that sounds like right now. And it's coming in right about 70 to 72 decibels. It should be between 60 and 65 decibels, right around there. So we're going to put a new motor in, and I'll put a link to the motor on Amazon, to a new blower fan blade as well. So check that out. Okay, so this is a pretty straightforward job to replace the motor and the blower, right? We're going to take off the control panel right up here. It's these two screws here, one on this side, one on the other side. We may be taking this one off as well, so both of these screws potentially. This bracket right here, we have to loosen this bracket, so take this screw out. You can hang this bracket, just get a little wire and put a wire through here or something like a bungee, just hang this bracket so it just floats here. And then we're going to take this off, so we're going to take the door off. That's just these four Torx T25 screws right here. So these two down here, these two up here. And then, you know, we can pull the lint trap out, but that's fine. There's a few screws underneath here at the bottom, about 4 screws underneath there. And then this whole bulkhead thing lifts off and out. We take the door off because it makes the whole thing a lot lighter. I mean, could we leave the door on? Probably, but then this becomes much heavier, and it's harder to like work with in position and stuff like that. Okay, you have these two wires right here. They feed through this hole right here. One of them hooks in here, and the other one hooks onto, there's a dongle in here. I'll pull it up so we can see it. Yeah, here's this dongle right here, okay? We are, in fact, going to take this off, okay, this guy right here. So we can loosen the top here. We can probably also loosen these guys here, but here's our bulkhead right here. And you know, you got 1, 2, and 3/4 inch nuts there, and then 4 on the bottom. Okay, so we are gonna take this off. There's a 1/4 inch nut here, right here in the white, and over here on this side. Now when we take this front panel off, we just kind of lift it up and pull it out. There is a cable that runs from the front panel up through here, and it connects into the blue and the white wire here. So you just disconnect that before you lift off this front panel. You want to disconnect that, okay? So I've already loosened up our, you know, so we're gonna lift this off. We'll just set it over here, like so, okay? So here's our kind of our bulkhead here, right? So we have 1/4 inch here, in here, here, in here. This here is your moisture sensor. So there's a plug right here, disconnect that, okay? This whole unit right here with your lint trap and everything is gonna come off with the bulkhead. When we undo those 4 1/4 inchers, this whole thing's gonna come off. You know, you're gonna slip it off the drum. The drum will hang down a little bit, okay, but that's fine. And then we're gonna just remove this entire thing here. Just pull it all out, set it somewhere, okay? And then we can grab, after we do that, after we remove the front bulkhead, we're gonna undo the belt from the back of the motor. So we're gonna just, you know, undo the belt, and then we're gonna use this belt to kind of pick up and pull the whole drum out. So we're gonna actually take this whole drum out of the machine and set it to the side. So that's the procedure. Yeah, I forgot to mention, there is one nut right there, 1/4 inch on that bracket. We have to undo that. We have to undo that bracket right there, okay? Okay, so here's what it looks like with the bulkhead removed. There's the bulkhead right there, okay? So all this, you know, comes off as one piece. We're gonna wanna clean this up a little bit here, you know, for sure. Clean this up and probably vacuum off this seal a little bit maybe. But now, this whole drum is just like free floating in here, right? So we're gonna reach back in here and we're gonna undo. We're gonna reach back in there and we're gonna just push that tensioner pulley down to the left, down and to the left, and remove the belt from the pulley and the wheel. Okay, so here's what it looks like with the drum removed. I didn't have a wire, believe it or not, so I just used a piece of tape to hold that up. And here's what it looks like. So here's our motor, and we'll go ahead and get started on removing that. I'm just gonna vacuum these sidewalls, clean up the rear piece back there, and we'll get to work on replacing this. I tried to remove this impeller myself, and it's actually frozen to the shaft. It should be very simple to get this off the shaft. It's frozen, so it cracked. It actually cracked. Okay, so we're gonna disconnect our plug to the motor. It just has 2 clips on the top and the bottom. Plugs in right here. Okay, disconnect that. These are clips that hold the motor in. We're gonna leave those for now, but we are gonna take those out. There's one there and one here. And you grab it with your finger. I might recommend wearing gloves so you don't get caught. Pull it up, this thing just pops off the top. The entire motor lifts right out, okay? It's sitting in there like a cradle. We put a 1/2 inch extension in here, okay? You can use a socket wrench with a 1/2 inch extension, or you can use a pry bar with a 1/2 inch extension on it. To take this fan out, we have to undo this 1/4 inch nut, remove this front panel, and you need a 7/16 wrench. You're gonna put that 7/16 wrench right there, okay, on the shaft. You'll see when I spin it, there's a flat part. See that flat part right there? That's where you're gonna put your 7/16 wrench on there to hold it, and then we'll take this out, okay? Okay, so I just took the front cover off. There's literally just one nut holding it. Comes off. Here's what it looks like. That's a seal, right? And if that seal is totally, you know, it's no good anymore, then you can just replace it. Just go to Home Depot or Lowe's. I'll put a link in the description if you want to pick some of this up. I put those seals on last night, so you can see they're already pretty flat, but we're gonna go ahead and take this off. We'll see, because I tried to do this before and it was extremely tight. You can see, remove, spin that way, okay? Tighten, spin that way. So spin counterclockwise to tighten and clockwise to loosen, okay? So we're gonna use an impact wrench again. That's what I used before. It wouldn't come off. It was frozen on there, so we'll see if we can get it. Okay, so it was frozen on here. I mean, this thing is frozen. You know, there's water. You know, you can see evidence of moisture. This thing has a steam injection system, right? So obviously there's going to be some moisture. I think it's rusted on here, okay? So I could not get this off. I actually had to cut this off, so I just cut it off with a Dremel device. And we're going to clean out this cavity really well. The motor, this thing I'm just going to leave it on. I'm not even going to bother taking it off because it'll slip right through this rear hole. And we're going to go ahead and remove these clips here. Might need to get a pair of pliers on there. Yep, got to get a pair of pliers. We'll use some channel locks for that. So we're just going to go ahead
I'm probably gonna need 2 hands for this. Yeah, I'm gonna need 2 hands, but we'll take those 2 clips off. Okay, so with your left hand, you push down with your thumb here, put your channel locks on this tab, pull the tab up with the channel locks, push down with this finger, and then it comes off, okay? So that's how it goes, like that. We're gonna set it right there. And then we got this one. We're gonna pop this guy off. And we're gonna set it right there. And then the motor should lift out pretty easily, you know, just like that. There's our motor, okay? So again, this thing was, you know, humming. It looks clean because I cleaned it. I blasted it out with compressed air. But, you know, 8 years, right? You just got to replace it. They're not good forever. Okay, here's our old motor here. And here's our new motor. Now, to prevent the impeller, okay, to prevent the impeller from seizing on the shaft, we're gonna want to put some anti-seize on here, silver or copper anti-seize, and I'll show you what that looks like in a second, on these threads so that it doesn't seize, because this one seized. I could not get it off at all. Even with an impact wrench, it wouldn't come off. You know, and you can see, if you kind of look in there, like you can see, you know, let's see if we can actually get in there. You see like rust, you know, it's not looking too good in there, right? Let's see if we can get on the rust a little bit. Yeah, it's corroded. There's corrosion in there. You can see corrosion right there. So, you know, the motor's loud. It's loud and it's humming. You know, we've got, you know, rubber kind of silicone, you know, dampeners here, vibration dampeners. These are kind of deformed and worn. This one's looking real good. One of the things, this is a pro tip that I'm going to tell you about right now, and that is to inspect your pulley. Inspect the threads on your pulley. Now, do you see the seam? Okay, this is a molded part. Okay, it's a cast part. It's not machined. So you can see there's a line right here, and you can see on the threads you got that line crossing over your channels, right, for the belt. And you have the same thing on the other side. Now, if you end up having shredded belts, if your belts are getting shredded, they're getting shredded specifically because of this seam right here. So how do we solve for that? Okay, you get a piece of sandpaper and you fold it in half, or a really fine, you know, file, like a metal file, and you go right in between those channels and you smooth out that line. You've got to smooth it out. That's critical, right? So you can use sandpaper. I recommend starting with maybe a 400 grit, finishing off with like maybe 1,000 grit or something like that. And you should be able to put a knife or something in that channel and run that knife all the way around, and that knife should not, the blade or the tip of that knife should not get caught up on anything. You shouldn't feel anything hard. If you do, your belts are probably going to get shredded. I have a belt over here as an example. You can see what happens here, right? So you can see how it's getting shredded there. See the shredding, right? And it's shredded like that in multiple areas, and a lot of that's from the pulley, right? Having the roughness, you know. See that? See the shredding? So, okay, so here's some silver anti-seize lubricant by Permatex. I'll put a link in the description to this. They do make one. Loctite makes one actually that kind of looks like a glue stick, like those glue sticks you used to use when you were in elementary school. That's a silver anti-seize, and it's fantastic. This one's like a little bit messy because it's liquidy, right? To do the sanding, right? So I'm going to sand these channels down where we have the seams from the mold. We're going to start with, this is a 120 because I don't have any 400. So 120 folded in half with a tight corner. And then I think this is a 2,000 grit, or yeah, 2,500. So we'll just finish off with that. That should be good. That should handle it. And again, right, we're putting this anti-seize just on these threads right here, okay? And that is for our wheel, so that it doesn't seize on here. Okay, I just dropped the new motor in. That's what it looks like when it's dropped in. Plug on this side, okay? You can see how it lines up with the brackets, you know, So it sits nicely on those rubber seals. And there's our shaft, and you can see I put some silver anti-seize on the threads. So I cleaned the threads really good, put some silver anti-seize so that we can thread this on. Now this goes counterclockwise to screw onto here. And again, you're gonna wanna use a 7/16 box or crescent wrench here on your shaft, right back here. There's a flat point on the shaft. You wanna capture that flat point right there. And do not put a wrench on this, okay? Do not put a wrench on your pulley wheel. This is a cast kind of pot metal. It's very soft, it'll crack, it'll bend, don't do it. And you know, I did sand down, I sanded down in between here as best I could because it's pot metal. There's still a little, you know, little bit of abrasion, but it's not too bad. It's not too bad. I got it pretty good. So we're gonna go ahead and reinstall our clips on the front and the rear. Okay, just reinstalled the front panel here. This guy as well. So you'll put the top screws in, okay? Don't put anything into the bottom here because when we put that door panel on, that door panel screws through this hole right here, through this hole, and through that hole. So we got this moisture sensor wire hooked back up, bracket installed down here, okay? And then in terms of the seals, so this is a silicone seal, which is, you know, a high temperature seal. You can see that it has an air gap in it, so it's flexible, right? It's a kind of a flexible seal. Double-sided sticky tape on the backside. Here we have the expanding foam seal, okay? Both of these I picked up at like Home Depot, but I'll put a link in the description to pick these up on Amazon as well. The silicone one is obviously like pretty expensive. I think it's like between $20 and $30 for a roll of this, but that's because it's kind of specialty. So around the perimeter here, I use the silicone seal. Okay, so when we put the door on, the door is gonna sit and it's gonna push on that silicone seal, and that's gonna create a really nice seal here, but it's high temperature and it's not gonna degrade. It's just gonna last. Plus, when you go like a year later and you wanna pop that front panel off, if you use the foam seal, it's like sticky, it like really sticks and you have to like really pull it off, and the foam seal is just totally ruined. So you have to replace it again and it's a total pain, but the silicone seal is just reusable over and over and over again. You know, in terms of cleaning, where the drum rolls, so, you know, up here where you have the foam, I used the Mr. Clean Magic Eraser to clean all of the ceramic coated metal. The Mr. Clean Magic Eraser works like the best. And then I came back with Meguiar's ceramic car wax, and I waxed the area where the felt seal runs, where it runs, right? So that it's really slick and smooth and not like grippy, right? If you put your fingers on it and it's grippy, that felt seal is probably going to want to grip on it too. So I put some of the ceramic wax on there, which is, you know, really good. That should work out pretty well. So I'm going to throw the front panel on and the top, and then we'll give it a test. Funny, I put the bulkhead panel on, and then I realized I forgot to hook up the belt. So the belt comes down from the drum, does a backwards loop around your wheel there, and then goes around the motor. Okay, so that's something you can just reach your hands in there and do that very easily from the front of the machine. Okay, I also left this in here. I just put it in here as like a little brace, but I left it in here. Okay, I got the dryer fully assembled. We're gonna turn it on and we're gonna hit play. Very quiet and smooth. Very quiet. Very smooth.